All right. Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon. If you wouldn't mind, Charlie, just starting with kind of an overview of your organization's mission and what you do, and then Catherine, you can chime in, give us a little insight to what your daily work life looks like.
Absolutely. My name is Charlie Walters, and I am a program manager with Disabilities Spokane. And we promote the hiring of people with developmental disabilities in Spokane County. We provide resources and support to employers and partner with supported employment professionals to create solutions that contribute to a diverse, inclusive workforce.
So that's a pretty big mission. And how long have you been in that role?
I've been in this role for about 4 years. Hireability Spokane was an offshoot of Hireability Day, which was
Mhm.
a big celebration in Spokane County to promote supported employment, highlight employers who had hired people with developmental disabilities, and it kind of transitioned into more of a year-long effort just to try to ensure that anyone with a developmental disability who wanted to work had that opportunity.
Got it. It's a really important mission. And Catherine, what is your role within the organization?
Yeah, so Charlie's the lead for Hireability Spokane. And so I feel like I bat cleanup, as they say. I have been fortunate to be working towards equitable employment for people who experience a developmental disability for about 22 years. And through that, have seen a lot of changes in the way systems work, but have not seen a lot of changes in terms of the fact that employers need to find great employees. And we know a number of people who are very excited about the opportunity to be a great employee.
That's
Maybe
great.
you, one or both of you, can tell us what is it that you can do for an employer who's looking to retain and hire and retain a great employee?
Yeah, we can do a number of things. We can educate them around the benefits of hiring someone with a developmental disability. We can introduce them to job seekers. We can connect them with employment supports or a job coach that could help that person be successful on the job. We can assist with training their staff to understand what it's like to work with coworkers, particularly those with developmental disabilities, and the list goes on and on. We could do an assessment to find out where their needs are. We can help develop job descriptions, a number of things.
Yeah, one really cool thing that we've done a number of times is collaborate with some larger businesses in the area to hold interview events. And not interview events necessarily for like a specific job that's happening, but an opportunity for some people who may not have had a chance to interview people who experience a disability, though I'm guessing they have and maybe don't know it, as well as for some job seekers that haven't had an opportunity to have a lot of in-person interviews and connect. And through that process of coordination and interviews and conversation, actually that's led to a number of jobs for individuals, because you get people in there who are hiring you, you're like, I don't want to let this person go, like I can see how they would be an asset. So that's been a great way to sort of to collaborate.
And you actually touched on one question that I had for you, which related to interviewing. And I would think that what we would consider as conventional interviewing methods may not always be the most effective. And even the way that we write job descriptions may not be the most effective for attracting the widest array of applicants, including those with developmental disabilities that we could. Do you have some techniques or some thoughts about things that should be considered by prospective employers when drafting a job description, and also when they're interviewing potential applicants, maybe those that have developmental disabilities?
Catherine, if you want to touch on the job description, I'll talk about the interview.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think with the job description, oftentimes job descriptions we've noticed and application process can be sort of filtering immediately, like filtering people out immediately in such a way that businesses could be missing out on obviously some great applicants. So when job descriptions are sort of all encompassing of everything that happens within the four walls of a business with a line at the bottom that says, you know, must be available to do all duties. Many of us would think, I can't do everything in that office, in that manufacturing plant, in that retail shop. I've not been trained to do those things. And so I think rewording applications to speak to what is truly the need that a business has can be more helpful versus some of the just sort of broad sweeping job descriptions that we see that I've seen in jobs I've applied for myself, where I haven't necessarily been doing all of the things in the job description. I'm doing a small piece. We find that narrowing down more closely what it is you're really looking for as an employer is a helpful way to be able to target in on who is a good match for that business.
Thanks.
Yeah, and we've also talked about simplifying some of the terms. If you're using terms that are maybe specific to your industry or to your field, it may be helpful to kind of think about what that looks like to the general population, what those terms or tasks may mean. And then as far as interviews, it can be helpful to ask someone what type of interview they prefer. If you are open to doing a different style of interview than the typical kind of process. Right now, I know people are still probably experiencing interviews on Zoom, which can be very accessible for a number of people. A working interview is something that we've seen have a lot of success, where someone will come in and do the tasks that are going to be required of them. Oftentimes, I think with the traditional process, we get people who are great storytellers, and we don't know how they're actually going to be able to perform what we need them to perform. We worked with someone who used an iPad and went into one of our interview events and just did such a great job, and nobody was really expecting it. And so that kind of leads to being open to providing interview questions ahead of time so that maybe people can use their devices and prepare their answers. And then making sure that, of course, you have the interview in a physically accessible space is very helpful.
Right. So as the resident lawyer, I mean, employers have an obligation under the ADA to provide accommodation not only to existing employees, but also to applicants. And so that's something important to keep in mind, whether you're intending to attract applicants who have any kind of a disability or not, you continue to have that obligation. And then with respect to a working interview, I think those can be great, but you just have to remember that you have wage and hour obligations still with respect, even if you call it an interview, if they're performing work, you still need to keep wage and hour issues in mind.
You know, Jennifer, one thing that has been helpful with that has been for, as Charlie described, like the sit and answer questions style of interview it's a stressful, you know, even if you have the questions ahead of time, you're just thinking, oh dear. And a number of people we know have utilized for their interview a video demonstrating, it's a video of themselves demonstrating the skills that they have that could fit into the specific business place. Of course, people can tailor those videos to meet what it is that an employer might be looking for. And that's a really helpful way to, and by videos, I mean quick, you know, 2 minutes or less. It's a really great way to quickly sort of ascertain the skills when answering questions in a traditional way might not be the best fit to share those things.
Great.
Really clever. One of the questions, I was curious if you could talk about some of the success stories. I've looked at the website and I think they're really inspirational, but if you could highlight some of those, I think it will help employers kind of visualize and understand, what their peers are doing and what they have done and what has worked.
Yeah, so one of our most recent success stories is a lady named Heather who works at Hello Sugar out in their Valley location. And she happened to see a notice that they were having a job fair. And she went in with her job coach and sat and did the interview similar to every other applicant. And obviously they were open to interviewing somebody with a developmental disability. And they just loved her. And right away, they started her on a couple of smaller tasks and was able to use her job coach and add tasks and add tasks and add tasks. And now she's able to, one of her goals was to start using the espresso machine and making coffee. And she's been able to work up to that. She kept her job throughout COVID, and now she's back working 20 hours a week.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
How much could an employer expect that a job coach would interface with the employee or through the process? Could they kind of expect to rely on that coach?
And could you also explain what a job coach is?
That's a good point.
Yeah, so a job coach or employment consultant, there's different sort of language people use, but it really is that some people who experience a disability might have access to some additional support beyond what an employer, of course, would offer training to their employees and the type of support that they offer to their employees. It's sort of someone who can help to facilitate the relationship at the beginning of a job and ongoing as necessary. But because what's important, we know what's important to employers because ultimately this is what works the best is when there's a great job match. A job coach might be with someone for the beginning of the job just to kind of get through some of that, just the nerves, the orientation, the new sort of structure, all of those things, and then come in as needed. It really is based on what the employer is needing, that they're not able to provide without maybe some additional support. Was there, I think there might have been an additional question to that, but I can't remember.
I think I was just the timeline of support, but I imagine it's just custom based on the need, right?
Yeah.
Is the employer paying for the job coach?
No, the job coach is a feature that comes with the employee.
So the employer would just pay the employee like they would any other employee, and then they also get the benefit of having this job coach as needed, help facilitate the individual performing their tasks.
Exactly. Yeah, we have found that a lot of employers have found the job coach to be very beneficial. I think a lot of times we've heard them say, if every employee came with a job coach, a lot more stuff would get done.
I bet.
Yeah.
I think related to that, a lot of employers who haven't hired someone with any kind of disability before have an idea in their head that their obligation to provide accommodation comes with a big or a hefty price tag. Do you have any idea that you can provide to employers about what kind of dollars are we talking about when we talk about accommodation?
Yeah, kind of the statistic that's out there in our community is that most accommodations are free for the employer. And then the average of the accommodations that you do have to pay for is about $500. But again, most are free. It's, You know, maybe someone needs a taller chair, or someone needs a stool at their workstation, or someone needs a little bit more flexibility with their schedule. Those things are all, you know, free for an employer to provide.
Do you have any information that you could provide related to retention rates and loyalty, job success?
Yeah, the research has shown that people who experience a developmental disability statistically stay at their jobs and are loyal beyond what the experience of people who don't have a developmental disability might be. And I'm actually curious to see in the next few years, you know, the workforce has changed in terms of younger people, and there's a lot of research about people having a number of careers in their life, having a number of different job opportunities in their life, and so the workforce shifting with that a bit in some ways. So I'll be curious. I mean, we'll be curious down the road to see kind of how that plays out. But absolutely, people with a developmental disability are, of course, just like the rest of us, anxious to be understood and accepted as a competent contributor who is a plus for a business. So being a loyal employee is a part of that for sure.
That's really great. Sorry, I get emotional. I have a daughter with a developmental disability, so I apologize if what you said was really impactful. So is there anything else you think our small business audience might want to hear or need to understand in this process? Any opportunities that are coming up?
I would love to add, just to think about your processes of hiring, the application process, the job description, like we already mentioned. Offer multiple ways of applying, you know, a paper application, an online application, offer other languages, offer maybe even a phone call for someone to call and ask for more information. And these are things, you know, we kind of call them, or it falls into the category of universal design. And a lot of the things that we found businesses will provide or offer to people with disabilities are things that cross over and benefit the rest of their employees as well. Offering access is great, and you just open up your business to that many more employees.
How can employers find out more information or get in touch with you all if they're interested?
There's a contact page on our website, hireabilitiespokane.org. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and you can just reach me through my email, which is charlie@gowise.org.
Yeah, we're always excited to just answer questions, have conversation. We know that for businesses who want their workforce to represent the communities that we live and work in, sometimes it's just hard to know, like, but how do I start? Where do I start? And what if I ask the wrong thing or say, you know, all of these questions. And so we encourage, just give us a call, send us an email, have a conversation, and we're happy to talk through some of those things.
Great. And to the extent that people have legal questions, of course, Associated Industries is happy to help facilitate getting you on the right track. And the legal department is always happy to discuss those types of issues, and the HR folks can help with interview techniques in general. So I think we can all work as a team to get some more people hired.
Yay.
We love that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, and we'll make sure to send out all the details and get you a copy of this recording. So I am gonna